Speaker is Dr. Anjali Bhatt. Dr. Anjali Bhatt is a well-known consultant endocrinologist from the Pune city, and she has contributed to medical science in enormous ways in various institutions and everywhere. So I invite Dr. Anjali Bhatt to start her presentation. Anjali Bhatt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, chairpersons, and thank you, Bansi Sabu, sir, for having me here today. Uh, I'll share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So the topic for me today is potential of real-time continuous glucose monitor in helping to enhance uh, glucose control in diabetes in India. The talk is not funded by any company which provides continuous glucose monitors or real-time continuous glucose monitors. So that's the disclaimer. To start with, I have tried to identify certain keywords from this topic. And those keywords go as potential, a real time, though continuous glucose monitoring is another part of this keyword, but what is going to be key in this particular talk is going to be real time. Third is enhancing the glucose control, because day by day with information available from the evidence, we are enhancing our understanding about what does it mean by a good glucose control. And particularly in this country where there is a very huge burden of disease. We have more than millions and millions of patients with diabetes, large proportion of uncontrolled patients. I think this is a problem in most of the countries, but overall we have patients which would average out to 9% of HbA1c. So we have a large proportion of uncontrolled patients in spite of the advancement in the medication. There is something that we lack in the understanding of the physiology, and what we are lacking is the ability to change the behavioral patterns of the patient. We have extremely busy OPDs, so there is hardly any time for the doctor to to understand the issue from the patient and explain what needs to do to the patient. And a fact that can be used as an advantage or a disadvantage, out of pocket payment, which also gives a freedom of choice to our patients to choose a particular technology and give priority to spend their money on this particular technology than any other thing. So out of pocket payment, rather than taking it as a disadvantage, I would like to take it as a freedom of choice of choosing a technology over other expenditures to improve their health. What has the recent times taught us is two things. One, we have become much smarter and accepting to the technology. I don't think we will be meeting digitally in Bansi Sabu sir's conference ever again or ever in the past. So COVID-19 times have definitely taught us to be more technology friendly and accepting the technology. And secondly, a big lesson that these times have taught us is giving the priority to health can be much better than giving the expenditure to the illness. So some technology which will probably improve the health will always be a good investment rather than spending that money on illnesses. So let us come to first keyword, that is potential. Now this is a title side of my talk in the same conference in 2019, that is last year, which was a debate over should HbA1c still be the target for the diabetes treatment, main target, and the audience at the end agreed that yes, HbA1c should still be the main target for treatment of diabetes in our patients. But what this year has done is it has created a potential for accepting the technology. And another thing has happened is that because of huge increase in the requirement or the need, the technology cost has tremendously came down. So we have a recent introduction of a continuous glucose monitor and their real-time version by Abbott, which is reasonably acceptable from the cost point of view. So definitely this has created a huge potential for such devices in helping our patients to reach their target. Coming to the second keyword, that is real time. when it comes to understanding what is time, I don't think anybody would be better than Stephen Hawking. And what he said about real time is the universe has a beginning in the real time and an end at a singularities that form a boundary to space time and at which the laws of science break down. I would like to take up this last word, laws of science breakdown. I am sure, in spite of doing all the best possible management of a patient, there would be when the laws of these science will fail. The patient will have a low blood sugar, the patient will have a high blood sugar. There would be some food which will change according to the time, culture, and the year, the time of the year. There would be times when the patient would be able to exercise, who would not be able to exercise. All the laws that are recommended are bound to fail at a real time, and that real time will come in the lifetime of the patient at some point or the other. At that time, if we have a tool which can suggest what is happening at that particular real time, and we empower ourselves and the patients to intervene at that particular real time, it's definitely going to enhance the glucose control. Now I'm going to come to the third keyword of the topic, and that is enhancing the glycemic control. Now we have come a long way of understanding what does glycemic control mean from the beginning, where we thought that we need to control the blood glucose at fasting and post-meal stages. Then DCCT taught us the importance of glucometers, where we can use these laboratory parameters. We took it to self-monitoring of blood glucose, on which we had a wonderful talk by the previous speaker. Then came HbA1c, which told us that not only a point of care blood glucose, but an average glucose over few months should be targeted to improve the outcomes, long-term outcomes of diabetes. Now we have two more steps ahead of it, which tell us that even within the normal HbA1c, we need to make sure that there is no glycemic variability. That means the blood glucose is not very low or very high, and very importantly, quality of life. What quality of life issues that come up with multiple SMBGs is the finger pricks and painful finger pricks that a patient needs to do. If a patient is on multi-dose injections every day for 4 times in a day, and he needs to prick himself in for 4 times in a day before taking the injection, I am sure all our doctors can correlate to this pain that our patient has to undergo. And that is why this monitoring has actually made a transformation and a game changer shift in understanding and reacting the way we do. I actually like to call monitoring as one of the anti-diabetes treatment, which does not need a CVOT and can be as useful as another drug required or needed for management of HbA1c. Now, what we have learned from CGMS is to improve the glycemic to understanding of glycemic control, where time in range was the concept that was introduced from use of continuous glucose monitor. And what it showed that in spite of normal HbA1c, if the time in range increases by 10%, the complications reduce by a huge extent. And this is a recent evidence which came from the pooled data of DCCT. So this is a data which was long time awaited and which has come to us, which correlates the continuous glucose monitoring data relating to the long-term complications. Because that is where we relied on HbA1c, because that was the only parameter which showed us that a parameter which was correlated with the long-term complications of diabetes. Now we have an evidence that higher the number of times that a person has his blood glucose in the range, the lesser the chances that this person will develop chronic complications. And even though this data was based on glucometer readings, obviously in a logical way, the continuous glucose monitors might increase the chances that a person remains in the range. And what we now expect, apart from being apart from HbA1c being under the target, we also want a patient to have around 70% of his readings within the required range. Now, this range can be different for different people. We generally take it as 70 to 180 milligram per deciliter, but we want our patients to have 70% of these readings between 70 to 180. Less than 5% in low range, less than 1% in very low range, and 10 to 20% readings may remain on more than 180 range is what is currently recommended. And what data is a continuous glucose monitor. We are just talking about a continuous glucose monitor, which will give us an ambulatory glucose profile that is shown on the screen. So what does it mean is that if you can see on your left panel, the time in target is given directly on the screen of a continuous glucose monitor, where the patient is shown to have 54% reading in target, 12% below, and 34% higher. Now, this is the direct information about time in range. What DCCT has done is it has taken all the glucose values that are done by SMBG and then plotted that in a sheet or whatever calculator they use, and then calculated how much time were in the normal. That can be very well done with a notebook in which the patient has written the values. But what CGM can give us is not only giving the minute to minute reading, but also providing a graph, what we call as ambulatory glucose profile or AGP, which can give us day-to-day level graph or cumulative graph of last 7 days, cumulative graph of last 14 days, and the average out of the blood glucose at a given particular time of the day. And what you can see on the screen is it clearly tells us on every day how many times the patient was in the target, below the target, and above the target. So this is one part of real-time continuous glucose monitoring. That's why we are the patient and we are given a ambulatory glucose profile. We directly know how many times the patient had been in the range, that is TIR. Now coming to the real-time part of the continuous glucose monitor, what real-time glucose monitors do is that in the professional continuous glucose monitors, patient wears the sensor, but the patient cannot see the reading. The patient has to come to the healthcare professional to read the sensor. There are advantages of such types of professional continuous glucose monitors, but because we're talking about real-time glucose monitors today, what we will be looking for is a current glucose reading. The patient has a transmitter or a reader with him, which looks like a mobile, and the patient will have a small sensor on his arm or abdomen, or depending on the manufacturer, and the patient just swipes his phone over the sensor and gets the reading as it is shown in the graph. Now, it not only gives you a current glucose reading, it also gives you a history of last 8 hours, which makes the patient mandatory to scan the monitor at least once in 8 hours. Otherwise, the previous graph will be refreshed and you can see only the next period's graph. And what most important thing these glucose monitors do is to give you a trend. Now, what does trend means? A trend arrow, as you can see in the graph, there is a glucometer value of 112, and there is a slightly slanting arrow going upward beside it. So these arrows give us trend. A sleeping arrow means glucose is remaining stable. Slightly slanting upward arrow means glucose is going up, but slowly, and a perpendicular arrow going up tells you that the glucose is going up very fast. Similar information can be taken about the glucose going down, slowly down or slowly, very fast down. Now we need to empower ourselves to use this information. And what we are going to do to enhance the diabetes control in our patients. So there are 3 points that we would be highlighting. One is we have seen how monitoring is the biggest game changer, and I would like to call it as a diabetes therapy which does not need CGOT. We have seen what is the usefulness of such a monitoring in our patients. Very important when it comes to this particular talk is what are the options that are available in our country and how much they cost and how are we going to put them in the management of our patients. And then there are simple case-based examples as to how we are going to use and interpret real-time continuous glucose monitors, making it to the maximum use and not letting it be a headache, because the technology can be sometimes misused and can cause irritation. So let's see this slide again from my last year's talk, which showed what are the CGMs available in India in 2019, where real-time glucometers were really high cost and we had only Medtronic and Dexcom sensors available, and its reader cost some more than 50,000 rupees. Now we have 3 real-time continuous glucose monitors, which get somewhere around 52 and sensors around 2,500 to 10,000 rupees. We have which costs 6,000 rupees and a personalized reader which can cost 6,000 rupees. So these are real-time continuous glucose monitors that are available in India on today's date. So these are the informations, and depending on patient's choice and particular need of you and your patient, one of these can be used. Now, as I said, that unless we know exactly which technology, the nuclear bomb for something that can cause destruction rather than usefulness. So similarly, we must identify our patients so that such advice can be used. This is not for everyone as a replacement of laboratory or glucometer and HbA1c. What the trial that showed us that there is a correlation between TIR and chronic complications of diabetes, the correlation association, the correlator of association was around 0.7 to 0.8. That means that 70% of your patients, HbA1c and the glucometer reading or the blood glucose reading will match. There is around 20 to 30% of our diabetic population where more evaluation will be required in addition to glucometer readings and the HbA1c. So mind well to choose a right patient for right technology, and I am sure you are unlikely to fail in that. It can sometimes cause anxiety and stress because real can give irritating alarms, and the patient as well as doctor is not empowered to react on the alarm. We are not made sure that we as well as the patient is empowered to know which alarm is to be intervened and which may not be intervened and can be left alone. So it's very important that we ourselves are empowered to use it, and we spend enough time with the patient to teach them how we are going to respond to the continuous flow of information that is coming to you about yourself. So it can be really scary and stressful sometimes. So there are 2 very important indications that I find in the clinical practice about. One are the patients who need real-time intervention, a minute-to-minute intervention on the value that is provided. And second, a very important use of real-time continuous glucose monitor, or for that matter, any continuous glucose monitor, is going to improve our metabolic understanding, leading to behavioral change. Now, this is something which I would like to call as investment in understanding your metabolism. The first group of patients are young type 1 diabetes or any other type of diabetes which are on multiple dose insulin or insulin pump, in which we need to do real-time management of changes in the glucose. Right now, my glucose is pre-meal glucose is 100. I need to calculate my carb. I need to understand the insulin sensitivity factor. I need to calculate the dose of insulin that I need to take, and I'm using this continuous glucose monitor. I don't want to take 4 pricks per day. This is the classic and life-saving example of a person badly needing a real-time continuous glucose monitor. What it is also going to add is prediction of hypoglycemia and followed by a right or appropriate intervention. For example, if right now a type 1 patient's glucose is shown to be 70 and the arrow is going either slowly down or sharply down, The patient absolutely needs to stop doing whatever he or she is doing and intervene by taking glucose. So this is another thing that requires a real-time continuous glucose monitor and prediction of hyperglycemia followed by intervention. Something like glucose of 400, blood glucose going up very sharply. The patient needs to increase either the basal rate of the pump or take additional short-acting insulin to control the hyperglycemia, preventing the patient going in ketoacidosis. Now, this is the classic and life-saving example of use of real-time continuous glucose monitor. What these monitors can also do and what can be invested in a real-time continuous glucose monitors by few of our patients, which can be anyone with any type of diabetes, with any type of treatment that is going on. Now, this is a graph of continuous glucose monitor, may not be a real-time continuous glucose monitor, which can give you an ambulatory glucose profile over past 7 to 14 days. Any CGM can do. We can calculate what is the timing range, how much is the glycemic variability, when is the particular time of the day that the glucose is going up or down, what are the behavioral changes which are associated with it, and understanding the individual patterns of day-to-day glucose levels and identifying underlying behavioral or iatrogenic factors, where we might need to tell the patient to do dietary changes or we can do medication changes. What real-time glucometer adds, continuous glucose monitor adds, is a real-time enforcement of advice regarding foods to be avoided, but the advice is not taken seriously. I have so many patients to whom I tell that the bakery products are not good for you, but when this gets reinforced, when they eat 2 Marie biscuits and see that their blood glucose is going to 400. Now, these are the types of behavioral changes that are great investments in patients who can take that advices more seriously if they are shown in the real time that this is what is actually happening, rather than we expecting them to believe us blindly. Now, this is something which is understanding of the metabolism. For us also, it is going to be useful to understand patient's diabetes better. And for patient also, it is going to be useful to understand what suits his metabolism better and what doesn't. Coming to a few of the last slides, when you use a real-time glucometer in the practice, it's very important to understand, and give time, one, to know the device, use the device on yourself and see what are the functions, what are the arrows, what are the alarms, what needs to be intervened on, what may not be intervened, of the patient's empowerment to use and understand the technology. Maybe it is nothing to do with the patient's literacy. There are patients who are educated but don't want to accept the technology, and there are patients who will somehow use the technology in spite of we feeling that they might not be able to get. So understand the empowerment of your patient and empower them to accept and use the technology of the patient's need and how the device can be useful for the particular need. From my side, I have tried to give you 2 scenarios where patient needs RT-CGM and we can utilize, and you can have a number of more indications for such needs. Of need or no need for real-time intervention. You might have a patient who can keep calling you if the blood sugar is 201 because you told him that the blood sugar should be below 200. So these things need to be explained very well, that these are the things that need to be intervened. These are the things it may be left alone. We need TIR in 70% of the times. It doesn't have to be 100% of the time. So that is something that needs to be going as a clear message. And cost effectivity of this financial investment. Like, will investing in an RT-CGM will be more useful rather than spending on a ketoacidosis hospitalization, hypoglycemia hospitalization, or investing in understanding your metabolism so that you can prevent the long-term complications of diabetes. With that, I'm coming to the summary slide. We have seen that it is not the technology, it is we who are going to use the technology in certain way that is going to decide a potential of a technology to be useful. We know that we need to move at least 2-3 steps ahead of fasting PP and HbA1c, where there would be certain number of patients who would require TIR to be considered to prevent life-threatening hypoglycemia, ketoacidosis, and to understand the glycemic variability and metabolic parameters. we've seen what are the options available for us when we want to use a real-time glucometer, continuous glucose monitor in our patient. And definitely the potential use of such real-time glucose monitors are increasing. One, because we are becoming more and more technology friendly, and the technology is definitely coming down in cost and coming into the reasonably accepted cost bracket is what I feel. With that, I would like to thank the chairpersons again and Bansi Sabu sir for giving me this opportunity. I would be happy if there is any discussion over this topic.